beginning with audio editing, I wanted to cover audio and video editing using freeware programs that are actually cross-platform and have multiple uses for just those. The first is Audacity. It's a program useful for extracting, converting, and transcoding audio. You can go down to the different download sections here on the website. I'm going to point these out, though the other download section, in my case, I'm going to be using Windows. This is the 1.3 series, which is a beta, which has a few more features than the older version does. There's the installer, of course, but the ones that I wanted to point out are the plugins, the lame MP3 encoder, and the FFmpeg import-export library. If you were to click on these, each of them, you'd be able to see the different downloading instructions for those. But of course, I have them in the installers folder again. So here we have the FFmpeg. I'm not going to use it just yet. This is done. Right now I'm going to load Audacity again over the existing version. And since this is a freeware program put together by a non-profit organization, you don't have to worry too much about installers that will try to get you to create a toolbar or redirect your home page or anything else. I'm going to choose to install it over everything else. So now that it's finished, I can choose to launch it right now, but I'm not going to just yet. I first want to install the other plugins that will allow me to be able to have a little bit more file support, and will be able to export whatever I'm working on into MP3 or other formats. In this case, I'm installing it to the Audacity folder itself instead of a program just for it. And lastly, we have the lame encoder, which will allow free conversion to MP3 files of whatever the Audacity program is working on. Again, here I'm going to move it to the Audacity folder so that they're all running out of the same folder, and I don't have to worry too much about where all the uninstallation folders are. So now that it's finished, I can minimize this and begin to demonstrate the use of Audacity. So here we have Audacity near the top because this is alphabetized. So now I have here the main window. I'm going to begin to demonstrate with random sound clips. So for instance, there's the Windows XP startup sound. Fairly simple. If you wanted to, you could customize the sound so it sounds a little bit more interesting when you first begin your computer. Here, for instance, we have the mechanical sound of a pump beginning to start up. And you can also see from here that you can save projects by going up here to File and Save Project. By default, this will be Control-S. And when you load anything into it, you can see I already have a project here that will allow me to save or view or customize this however I like. Normally you can only have one instance of Audacity open at once, so I'm just going to close this to allow it to be a little bit safer. And so now we can see here that I have multiple tracks here. If I highlight a particular area, I can choose to, say, amplify it or change the pitch or speed or the tempo of it. And if I go to, I can choose to change different effects. If I wanted to, I could highlight the end of a portion and choose to have it fade out to silence, so that if I'm ever customizing a song, I can choose to put a fade on it so that it will sound properly, or it will fade into silence properly. I can do the same thing at the beginning of a song to fade something in as it begins. This way you can remove any pops or clicks or hisses that you may introduce into it by importing. So right now I can choose to export this entire thing. If I wanted to, I can export a selection or the entire project. In this case, it's defaulted as a wave. If I wanted to, thanks to the other support that those gave me, I could be able to do it as an MP3 file, a free lossless audio codec file, which is in some ways better than an MP3 because you lose no quality whatsoever. It is a bit of a drawback though because the file size is easily 3 or 4 times the size of an MP3 file of almost the same quality. You can also change it to any of these other files. For instance, if I wanted to change it as an MP3, then I would click save. If I wanted to click options, I could be able to change the quality. The higher number the quality is, the better the sound will be, although accordingly the file size will go up as well. Same thing for the stereo. If you wanted something that was mono, if this was mono, you would be able to save a little bit of memory that way, but it's better to just have stereo anyway. So I'm going to click cancel here. Now if I click save as the MP3 box is open, I can be able to change the artist tag, the track tag, the album title tag. I could put the year or any of these others in. If it was something I had made myself, I could put in a comment saying something like this. And there I have it, and then I could be able to choose OK. For now I'm going to cancel, and I could choose to export the entire thing as a WAV file. And again, it has the same options. I can choose to edit the metadata. This will show up in the left area. You can see here that it has the different file name information there. If I were to highlight a WAV file that I had created like this, it would have the same information that I enter here. For now I'm going to click cancel. Actually I'm going to click OK just to demonstrate. It will go through and export the entire thing. So now it's going to export the entire thing. You can see there's an elapsed time and there's a remaining time. It will not usually be accurate with the remaining time actually coming to pass. It can say now that it's 42 seconds, now it says 28 seconds. It could easily take a little bit longer as the file starts to write to the hard drive. So now if I wanted to, I could click out of here. Instead I'm just going to close all of these. Now that particular sound I made is this one here, which runs whenever my computer begins. And it goes on like that for well over a minute. The reason being I have timed it to the point where once that song or that WAV file has finished playing, I know that the computer is fully operational from across a room, or if I have headphones on and I'm doing something else, I will know not to try to start anything during that time. Otherwise it will just bog the computer down horrendously.